Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Game Movie Show. My name is Deshaun and today I am here to review Pixar's Turning Red. Now this movie came out last week and I should have watched it already. I don't know why it took me this long to get around to watching this because, you know, Pixar, I'm usually on Pixar shit immediately. And this is the latest of the Pixar stuff. This is the latest, also the latest when they go to Disney Plus, directly to Disney Plus. So if you want to watch this, it's on Disney Plus right now. So Turning Red is an interesting movie because right now there's a lot of controversy around the film. There's a lot of people who are angry at the film. You know, the same, you know, the usual suspects, the woke, the anti-SJWs, the people who, you know, angry at that diversity, you know. But then there's a new section of people who are angry at this movie, and I'll get into them in a later bit. But to get into Turning Red, the simple premise is this is about a young girl named, a 13-year-old girl named Mei, a 13-year-old Asian girl named Mei living in Toronto with her mom and her father. Now, Mei is a perfect student. She's got the best, she's got perfect grades, she's interactive, she's a ball of energy, she's just like and you know, like the thing is, I remember when I was watching this movie being like, I've known girls like her. You know, girls who just kind of like who, from the jump screen, you know, like when I remember going to high school, when I remember going from middle school to high school, and I remember there being some girls who already were thinking about this shit, thinking about college, thinking about what they're gonna do to get into college, thinking about the things thinking about their grades, thinking about things like this, like these girls who are just interactive, like, well, not just girls, men too, just these kids who are just so interactive and so all over the place. And I was never one of those kids myself. I was pretty chill. Like, I really didn't do too much outside of football and a book club that I joined. Outside of that, and I didn't join that book club till my senior year. So outside of football, I really just kind of like, I had friends and whatnot, but I didn't do too much. But there were kids I know who were really into this shit, who had like planned their futures out and who were really in like, they hit school with like hard. Like they knew the importance of it. They hit school as hard as they fucking could. Now, so right off the bat, Mei and her friends and whatnot are characters that I have seen. I've seen some people complain about the level of obnoxiousness or whatever, or how they're over the top. But I don't know if you've seen like 11-year-old, 12-year-old girls, but they're kind of like that, dude. Like, you know, when you get a group of like 12-year-old, 13-year-old girls together who are like really good friends and they're just dicking around and just doing stupid shit, it could get kind of high-pitched and obnoxious. I mean, hell, it happened with I know it must have got high-pitched and obnoxious with me and my friends, particularly Willie and his brother, when we were just hanging out. It had to get stupid. So, like, you know, some people are kind of like real sensitive to this, but I digress. The actual story is about Mei, perfect student, perfect daughter to her mother. And one day she finds out that, you know, this whole she's a huge fan of this band called Four Town, which is basically the Backstreet Boys in this world. Also, this movie takes place in 2002, which makes it a period piece, which makes me sad and want to cry in a corner that 2002 is now a period piece. Woo, man, I'm gonna be just like, wow, and 2010 is a period piece. I'm like, good Lord, this is getting too close to home. When the day you graduated from high school becomes a period piece, that's when you're old. And I'm like, it's not even close. It's still like a couple of years. It's still like a decade, like a decade away from when I graduated from 2002. But it's still way too goddamn close. It's still so close. I'm like, that ain't good, man. But yeah, it's a period piece. So like, there are certain technologies and certain things in this like that it took me a second to click in my mind, because I'm like, I see people's phones and stuff, and I'm like, okay. But yeah, it takes place in 2002. Anyways, getting to the main, like I said, get back to the main premise. You know, I like to ramble, people. Her and her friends want to go see this band, but something happens to her on her birthday. She wakes up to find out that she is a giant red panda. Yes! So, turns out that there was a curse / gift given to her great ancestor to allow her to not only turn into and have the powers of the red panda, which is apparently in her family Oh, okay, I thought it was her. Which apparently in her family is this very, you know, sacred creature. Kind of like the dragon and whatnot in a lot of Asian, you know, mythology. This red panda is one of those things. I keep thinking I'm hearing something, but I think it's just the wind blowing. Sorry. But yeah, this red panda, she turns into a red panda. And it turns out that this was a curse/gift given to her ancestors. And every woman on their 13th birthday turns into these red pandas. Now, clearly, this is an allegory for a woman, for a girl going on her period. I mean, right down. And now, and this is written and directed by two women too. Written by an Asian woman. In fact, a lot of this is based off of, except outside of the red panda aspect of it, the whole mythology of it, some of the stuff, like the relationship with the mom and some of the things the mom does, are actually based off of the writer's actual real life, you know, things that happen with her and her mother. So if it feels weird that it's so specific, like 2002 Toronto, that's very specific. It's because it's about the writer. The writer pretty much wrote, she put a lot of herself into the character, which is probably why the character of Mei Mei is so fun to watch. I really enjoy her. She's energetic. She has heart. She's caring, but she's also funny. She's funny. She's, you know, like I say, I really like Mei Mei. And like I said, the movie is an allegory. The movie's about a lot of things. First and foremost, at the top, it's a coming-of-age story. It's very similar to that of a Spider-Man Homecoming or a Breakfast Club or one of those old-school movies. Also, on top of the coming-of-age story, it's about someone finding themselves. It's one of those stories about a perfect person not really knowing who they really are because they're trying so much to be perfect that they're like, well, who are you? It's like, I don't know yet. And you know, 13 years old is that age where you start to try to forge an identity for yourself, where you start to kind of, like, 13's the age where you start to, I mean, like, if you're like me, which I started asking those questions like at like 10, but if you're like, but normal kids start asking the question of who I am at 13. Like, that kind of question doesn't even cross your mind. That kind of question doesn't even really jump into your subconscious until you're like 13, because once you're 13 and you start, and puberty starts to kick in, and then you got the hormones hitting you, and things are just hitting you all at once, you start to contemplate shit like that, like, who am I? What am I? Who am I gonna be? That's why I remember in high school seeing so many kids, like, when we came out of middle school, and, like, that's kind of, I can relate to this. I saw so many kids, just like, when we came out of middle school, who looked totally different than they did when we were in middle school, who dressed differently than we did when we were in middle school, who behaved differently. You had people who were, like, I'd say quote-unquote normal. You know, quote-unquote normal, they just wore shit. Next thing you know, they're wearing black, or they're wearing camo, or they're wearing cap boots and flannel. It's like, what the fuck happened? I knew you. What just happened? Like, that's, like I say, 13 is that precious age where you're trying to figure out who the hell you are. And usually the age where your kids rebel. And I will say, like I said, and like this is a coming-of-age story. It's about finding yourself. It's also a bit of a monster story. And something that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about, like, now, they clearly aren't going to go that direction, but there's a certain sequence where Mei Mei has finally, spoiler alert, embraced the red panda, and she's jumping on the rooftops and going through Toronto and, like, trying to get to this concert, and she's just, and like the way she was going about it, I was like, I'm not shitting you. This could be a superhero origin. Like, the way the entire thing ends up wrapping up, you're like, this could be a superhero origin. It could easily be a superhero origin. I don't know. I don't think they're gonna go that direction because it looks like they're gonna be a little bit more, like, this is just this. But honestly, like, I kind of felt, by the time it came to an end, I felt very similar to the way I felt about Raya in The Last Dragon, which I was like, they could do something else with this. Like if Disney wants to, like, come back and make, like, a superhero show, like, on Disney Plus, you know, get Pixar on it to make a superhero show on Disney Plus about the adventures of, the red panda Mei Mei, like, I would be down for that. Like, I think there's something there because obviously if this kind of mythical things exist in this world, what else exists in this world. And there's a lot of stuff, like there's some classic stuff, the mom, the overprotective mom, the father figure, the father, there's some great characters. Her friends are great. They're all different and unique. I love the fact that they don't shy away from the fact that, yeah, man, girls really are into boys. And like, they really don't shy away from that fact. And there are, like I said, there's a lot of innuendos. There's a lot of this and that. And, you know, like I said, by the time this movie had wrapped up, I was like, this is a really damn great movie. I had a blast watching it. And like, I see how some people have issues with it, like, cause it's like, it is an allegory for having a girl going on her period. Like, the whole, her 13th birthday, turning red, she says, I feel icky and nasty and like a monster, and like, it's clearly a lot of allegory about that, which is what Pixar's good at, is making allegory about real things without actually having to get into it. But even her mom getting the pads and whatnot, thinking it was on her, she was on her period and stuff. You know, just even her mom doing that. And granted, and I don't want to say it, but that you know that was like subtle joke at how some women can be on their periods. Her being on her period, turning into a giant red monster. The metaphors are all over the place. But either way, by the time this movie wrapped up, I was really happy. 4Town with 5 members, 4Town. The Backstreet Boys / NSYNC you know, group, boy band, I give them credit. I was like, okay, they say that one song the entire movie. The only song you hear is that By Your Side song, which isn't terrible, but still, they play that one song, and I will give them credit. By the time that movie wraps up, there is something they do, which I was like, I'll give y'all credit for that. The balls on you guys to just keep singing. Anyways, I was like, that's fucking, I was like, okay, alright. You guys are the toughest boy band I've ever seen, but alright, cool. And by the time this whole thing wrapped up, it feels just like a nice warm blanket. Now, I will say this. Watching this movie made me really realize, I'm like, I don't know if I want to have children, particularly a daughter, because I was just like, man, I don't know, because when at a certain point May May is going in and she's just like, I'm growing up, and you know, I like this, I like that, I like this, and like in my brain, because I am a type of person who like, I know they say this kind of stuff all the time, put yourself in someone else's shoes. I like to do that a lot. I like to kind of take someone else's perspective. And whenever I take the perspective of someone raising a daughter and like coming to that realization that like, you know, the sweet, innocent girl that you curled in your arms and she was so gentle and you loved her. Yeah, it's not going to always be like that. You know, I don't know why, but in my brain, a son, I'd probably, like, I don't know. Like, it just made me go, I am not ready to be a fucking parent because I know this is an over-exaggerated, you know, it's a movie about a giant red panda. It's an over-exaggerated, you know, sequence. But I'm like, but it's a sequence that's real. Like, when it happens, when she's talking, when she's going in on whoever she's going, I'm not going to spoil it, on who she's going in on, you really feel it because, like, this is real, man. Like, this is just a realization you just have to come to when you have a child. Is that at a certain point, there's gonna come a crossroads, man, where the person you knew them to be ain't the person they are anymore. And you're gonna have to come to terms with that shit. And I'm just like, I don't know if I wanna do that. I don't know if I wanna go from this and loving and to, who's that boy you bought in the house? Billy with the neck tattoo? I don't wanna go there. I ain't ready. I don't know if I ever will be. But I know this movie did scare the shit out of me in that way. It made me go, yep, I just realized watching this movie, I ain't ready. But, you know, I don't even want to get into the controversy about parents being uncomfortable and whatnot, because watching the movie, I'm like, you know, I saw the controversies before I saw the movie, and when you watch the movie, even the period stuff is very, like, I mean, other than the thing with the mom, but most of it is very subtle. Most of the innuendo is very subtle. And, you know, the people who are angry are people who think that their daughters or children aren't out doing shit, which they are. It just is what it is. I don't care what parent you are. If you think your daughter and your son ain't up to some shit when you're not around, I'm sorry. I hate to tell you, your daughter's V card's already been gone and you don't even know it yet. I'm just telling you. Your son, he's banged like half the school. Like, you just gotta accept that. That's just something you gotta accept. Not me, because I'm not gonna have any kids, so I'll never have to accept that. But another person who has kids and is a parent has to accept that they will become adults, they will experiment, they will do shit, and you will never know about it. And it just is what it is. And you know, by the time this movie wrapped up, it was like, there was a great message in this. Great animation. I had fun with the cast. I had fun with the story. I think there's some wiggle room to do more. I give Turning Red a 9 out of 10. Thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Movie Show. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. Goodbye.